Okay, so to get started, I am going to work through some slides that provide sort of an overview of the tool and kind of what we'll talk about today, and then I'll share my browser and just kind of show you the basics of using it and leave some time for questions and to go over any details that I've missed that you might be interested in. So EndNote Online is a reference citation manager, and it allows you to collect references in a variety of ways and then store those references. You can organize them into groups, which are essentially folders, and share them with other EndNote users. In addition, you can format references right in the website itself for a quick bibliography, or use a tool called Cite While You Write that incorporates your EndNote account into Microsoft Word. It is fully cloud-based, so you just have to you can be on any computer to access your records, access your account. So the question definitely comes up in these workshops, the difference between EndNote Online, which is sometimes referred to as EndNote Basic. So in some of their websites, you'll see it as EndNote Basic versus the desktop, and I'll just talk through that a little bit. The desktop subscription, the desktop is obviously a software that you purchase, that you install on a machine. When you do purchase the software, you do have an EndNote Online account as well. So when you're in the EndNote pages looking at information about the desktop version, they talk about how it sort of works with EndNote Online as well. But EndNote Online can also function as sort of a standalone product, and that's what we have access to through our campus. The online product, the differences, there are a few. One is the amount of storage that you have with an EndNote desktop product. You have unlimited references and file storage. With the online product, only you can store up to 50,000 references, and you have 2 gigabytes of file storage. So this would be any articles that you're attaching specifically to your references within EndNote. There's also a difference in bibliographic styles that are available to you. With the desktop version, you have over 6,000 bibliographic styles. Online version, you have 4,000, so still quite a few. And when we have had requests for adding additional ones, we can often reach out to EndNote from our end and get a new style added on. Those styles, however, are not customizable, which has come up from time to time on campus where someone would like to make a change to one of the bibliographic styles. When you have the online only version, we're not able to do that. But generally, the core bibliographic styles that you may want to be using at any time should be available to you. There's also some limitation to what you can do with tables, graphs, and charts. There, where the desktop has a more robust sort of options for those. So today we'll talk about the basics of creating an EndNote online account or profile, the core ways of collecting references into your account, and then how to edit those references and why you may need to do that. We'll talk about organizing and sharing those references, and lastly, how to format a bibliography, specifically in the Cite While You Write tool. To create an account, you will need to go to the website that's out there. myendnoteweb.com is the easiest way to get to that page. You'll want to register with your UMBC email address specifically. The reason being is that we actually get a more robust version of the online only version through our campus subscription to Web of Science. So with that, uh, we have those 4,000 bibliographic styles as opposed to a handful, which would be available to just a non-campus user. In addition to some other things that are sort of embedded into the product. So you definitely want to register with your UMBC email account. When you first set this up, it's helpful to be on campus or registering off campus through the campus VPN. So either of those will work to kind of connect your account to the UMBC subscription. So I mentioned that there are a number of ways to collect references to get them added to your account. I'm going to touch on all five of those, but really demonstrate these three, which I think are the most useful and the most used ways of collecting references. Those include a direct export of references, either a list or a folder or individual references through any of our EBSCO products. We're a heavily EBSCO database campus, and there's a very simple way to transfer uh, references out of those into your account. So we'll talk through those. I'll show you how to import references as a file from other databases and also from publisher websites and other types of things that have the capacity to download text files in this RIS format and then import them into your account. So there's a multiple steps to that, but it's pretty straightforward and we'll talk through that. And then lastly, I'll show the Capture browser tool, which you can add to your browser and then use that to pull in things from, say, the New York Times website or something like that, sort of general web pages that you might want to be adding. Once we do that, I'll go through editing references. You can edit individual fields. You can add annotations and notes to individual references, and you can attach files and figures as well. We'll touch on organizing and sharing references. So this is creating individual groups based on kind of your topic areas and things like that, your projects, how to share those groups with other users if you would like to do that. And then there's also a simple way to search and delete duplicate references within the product. And lastly, I'll take you through the Cite While You Write tool, which is something you'll install into Microsoft Word, which allows you to format references in a variety of styles and then insert references directly into your papers and your other writing that you're doing. I have a couple more slides, but I'll save those for the end. So let me start off here with EndNote once you've logged in. So again, you're going to want to register your account first. And once you do that, you'll open up to this EndNote website page. There's a getting started guide that you'll see when you first open it up. Oh, Kara, that's a great question. I'm sorry I missed that a few minutes ago when you put that into chat. That's a really great question. So I think a safe answer would be that eventually when your UMBC email address is kind of disconnected, you will not be able to use your account in the same way. So what I recommend is that before you graduate is to export your references out. And you can create another account using a general email address, which you could conceivably, you know, add these to afterwards. So that is something to think about, and I just would try to preemptively um, address that. Again, you can have anyone can have an EndNote Online account, but if it's not connected to a university account like ours, and again, because we subscribe to Web of Science, we have a more robust version that's available to you. Um, so I think the safe thing would be to export everything out and then plan on importing it into something else, if that makes sense. So the question was whether you have access to EndNote after you graduate. Um, and to be safe, probably that will not continue on. So the Getting Started guide here on the top level can be helpful to go over a lot of the basics, which I'll cover today. So if you have questions or you forget a piece of it, the Getting Started guide can be helpful in that. You can hide it, and then once that happens, you're looking at the top level page, which is My References. If you've never used this, these will be blank. Your groups over here, you will have nothing, of course, here that will build up as you start to add references and customize your content a little bit. So the My References page has some nice features at the top level. You can do a quick search across all of your references. You can do a search across individual groups as well to locate things. Your groups will show up here, and you can see how many individual references are in each group. And those that I've shared with other people will have the little person icon as well. And then when others share their groups with me, those show up at the bottom and I can access those. All of my references show up in this main section of the page. When I open up one of these, you can take a look at what kind of information is available that I've transferred. So this is an article that I've transferred out of a database, and it identified it as a journal article. So it's pulling that basic descriptive information into the various fields. It's taking it directly as the database has it. So the capitalization, for instance, is really, it's determined by where it's coming from, the originating source. And that's important because if you're using a particular style that has a way of doing capitalization, for instance, then you may have to customize that a little bit within your record. So for instance, this article title, just the first word and the proper noun is capitalized. That works well for APA style. That does not work well for, say, MLA style. So if I'm using that particular style, I may need to do those tweaks either in my record or in my final bibliography. So it's really pulling this core metadata, the journal name, the journal year. Abstracts are pulled if they're available, and then you can see there's an option to attach a file if you had the full text in that way. Just going to scroll over a little bit. A few other things that should show up would be the link to the full text if we have it. So there's a couple of options here. You can see that there's a proxied link down here in the URL. These proxied links are the UMBC link resolver that is the same as this Find It button over here. So what this should do is take me to, and I think I'm probably sharing. Let me change this a little bit. Oh, it is showing up. Okay, great. So you should see this Find It menu and the link to the full text article here. So these link resolvers take you into the full text wherever it's living for the library. Sorry, I just closed too many windows. So let me just open up my windows again. And going back into the record here, and so any of these you can edit directly in make changes, permanent changes. You can also choose to show or hide empty fields, which can just simplify what you're looking at depending on what you need. So again, that's the My References section, and it's a way for you to kind of collectively look at all of your references or within individual groups. You can also sort them. One of the ways that I often resort is by when it was last added when it was added to my library. So if I'm looking for things that I've just added or recently added, I can resort to that. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, just opening up the chat here. I see I've got a few things. So, yeah, Tanya, unfortunately, I have not seen that model with universities allowing access to library services for a fee after graduation. I actually haven't heard of that. That's an interesting option. That's definitely not a model that we have here. Our license agreements are very narrow. They're looking at full-time equivalent current students, faculty, and staff when we do pricing. So that is not an option outside of the ability to borrow books, which our alumni do have. And that is actually not charged. There's no charge for that. Sure. Okay, so that's the My References section. The section over from there is the Collect section. And again, this is probably the more complex piece of it. And there are 5 ways to collect references. I'm going to touch on the ones that I use the least very quickly, and then I'll jump in to the 3 ways that I have seen people collect the most and go into a little more detail with that. So there is what's called an online search option, and that is configured to search directly within EndNote, just a few databases. And those include the Library of Congress catalog, PubMed, Web of Science, and then UMaryland, which is the University System of Maryland catalog. So in particular, if you're in the humanities field and you're searching through a lot of our book holdings, this might be an option that's useful for you. If you're in STEM and you're not looking at books that much or at all, really searching our catalog is probably not something you're doing very often. But it is a built-in tool here, so it makes finding those references and adding them into your account very simple. Oh, Rachel, okay, that's interesting. I may want to connect with you outside of class to kind of take a look at what's going on. Generally, if you have a Web of Science account, when your login should work really well with EndNote. So that might be something we need to look at a little bit outside. The second option for new reference is simply to type it in. This is not something most people ever want to have to do. It's obviously the most labor intensive, but it is an option for you. I would just say the most important thing to do to start with is just to select the reference type that it most closely identifies with the source. Then you get the fields that you need. So if that is, for instance, a edited book, you'll get the types of fields that make sense to generate a citation with that. So those are two ways that I very seldom use, but they're available for you. I'm going to go through the other three in more detail. It's starting with the one I use the most. And that's the direct export, or what I think of as almost a transfer. Those work very well with two types of products. The Web of Science database itself, that's very easy to do because the products are coming from the same company. The other large group of databases are all of our EBSCO databases. So that is many of our databases, probably 2/3 of our databases, and then our discovery layers as well. So the everything search on the homepage, the books, music, video search, and the article search, they're all EBSCO discovery layer tools, and this will work for them. So I'm going to just do a quick search in the articles to show what this might look like. And you can do this in a couple of ways. You can do it on an individual record level. So if I go into this first one, if this is one that I identify as wanting in my EndNote account, over on the right, you can see an export option. And it gives you a number of options here, but it should default to direct export to EndNote Web. So this product has had multiple names over the years. It was initially EndNote Web, and then EndNote Basic, and then EndNote Online. So you'll see it that way depending on where you're at. So we want to keep it to direct export EndNote Web and then save. If you're not logged into your account, it will prompt you to do that. Otherwise, it will add it to your account and give you this information that it's imported one record. So if I go over to my references, this should show up in my unfiled, and I'm just going to sort by just removing, let's see. So this is the one I've just added here. And again, it's taking this information directly from the database as it's available there. And I can make changes, corrections if there's anything that's, I don't know. Again, the capitalization, something like that I want to change. You can also do this on a more of a folder level. So if I wanted to add, say, 3 here to a folder, go into my folder, I can select all of those and then export in the same way. So that adds 3 just that quickly. So this to me is such a convenient way of doing this that if I find records, if I find references elsewhere, like just in Google Scholar or something like that, I copy the article title, I go to the library website and I pop it into that article search to see if I can pull it up there because it's easier. It's just that much quicker. So for me, this is just something that I find the most convenient way to add references. And again, that's the direct export, and it works with all of our EBSCO products and also Web of Science. Okay, any questions about that particular way of collecting references? Okay, great. So I'm going to go ahead and go into Google Scholar and just show you the second option, which is where you're essentially importing the text file for the citation from a different product like Google Scholar. So let me just go ahead and show you what that would look like. Okay, so this is often something that if you would need to do this, again, one option is to copy that article title, go into our article search and pull it up that way. But if you're on a publisher page like this, most of the larger publishers have an option on this kind of page with the abstract here of downloading the citation. So what that is doing is it's downloading, sometimes it gives you an option for the file format. In this case, it's doing an automatic download of this refman RIS format, which is a general sort of generic format for citation management tools and is kind of the go-to format that I use from these sites to get references into EndNote. So once I've downloaded that, when I go back into my EndNote account and into collect, you'll see an option for import references. So once you've exported it or downloaded it from that publisher page, you're going to import it into your account. And I'm going to find that particular file. So I downloaded it twice. I'm just going to grab this one, open it up. And you do want to match up the file with the proper import format. And I have customized my list to just a few that I use. And to be honest, I use that refman RIS format for almost everything. So I've gone in and I've selected from this very long list, which I do not find I ever need, and I'm not sure why they're always there, to be honest. I haven't figured out why you would need all of these different options. But as long as I have that set to the right import option, I can select a location and then import it. And again, you should get this confirmation that one reference was added to that folder. So again, another way to do this, which may save a, I don't know, a minute of your time, which can add up when you're doing a lot of this, is to copy those unique article titles, pop them into the article search. Not everything is going to show up in here, but a lot will. Um, and then I can open it up and add it this way. So it's a little bit easier. I don't know, might save some time. So those are kind of the two ways for academic articles in particular, that's just kind of the go-to way, one of those two, to collect references. The final way to add references to your account is through a capture tool. When you're in EndNote, one of the options for for you to download to add is this capture reference button. So as long as your browser is set that you can see your bookmarks, which I have here, I can actually physically grab this capture reference tool and drop it in. I've already got it here, so I'm kind of duplicating my options here. And then you can see that that shows up here for capture reference. So what will that look like for me? If I am going to, I'll just go to the New York Times. So let's say this article is one that I want to, well, that's not a great example. Let's see. Let me go to the Washington Post and do that. I'm just signing into my subscription here. Okay. So if I was at this page, it was one I wanted to add to my account. And this could be a government report. It could be just a, a website of value for you in your work in some way. If you click capture reference, you should see a pop-up box, which lets you log into your account, which I'm going to go ahead and do. Okay, this is interesting. Well, I know that that is not sure why it's not allowing me to log in here. There we go. I'm not sure what that was. So what happens when you do that is you get this option to select the bibliographic type, the reference type. So I'm going to go ahead and just select newspaper article for this. It changes your fields a little bit. And then what you'll see is that it does a really lousy job of completing this information. So this capture reference tool is nice because there are pages that you'll come to that you don't have better option. It's either you hand code, you hand type everything into EndNote, or this is your option. So from here, I would really have to look at the web page itself. I'd have to pull out the reporters' names, the newspaper name, and other details that may be necessary. But it is, again, a little bit better than going back into EndNote and adding everything by hand. So it pulls a little bit of information for you. In addition, you can designate the group or groups you want to add it to, and then click Save. And then it will add whatever you've added in there, it will pull into your account. So that's the capture reference tool. Again, it's most useful for these types of pages that are not within databases that have those other options for you to get the information into your account. So those are the core ways of collecting references. Any questions about any of that? Okay. So going back into my EndNote account, we've been through my references. We've gone through the collecting methods. The next option here is to organize, and this is something you may want to set up in advance before you start collecting references. These are essentially your folders. They call them groups, and this is a way for you to organize your references based on your projects, your topics, your subjects, all of that. So you can create a new group very easily when you create it. It gives you the option to manage sharing. So if this is something that you're working on with someone else who's using EndNote as well, you can add them as read-only access or read and write access. And all you need is their email address to do that. And then you can go in and just kind of clean up your groups as needed from here as well. This is also where you will see an option to both manage your attachments. And again, there's a limited file space in terms of how many attachments you can have within here. But you can manage those, remove, add as you need. You can also, within the organize section, search for duplicates and dedupe as necessary. So that's the organize option here. The next option is formatting, and again, this is when you're kind of got the references that you need and you want to generate your bibliography or start incorporating the references into your writing. So there's a way you can do sort of a quick and dirty bibliography directly in the website if you just need to create that. What you'd want to make sure is that the references that you're using are all in the same group. So I'll select my group. From here, I can select the bibliographic style. Again, our EndNote accounts have thousands of bibliographic styles that are available to you. When you start using this, you'll have access to all of them. They'll just be in this very long list for you to go through. Many of these are individual journal formats. Once you kind of figure out where you want to be, you can customize that to a smaller list that's a little bit more manageable for you, and then work from there. And that can be something you change all the time. So if you're, if you're submitting to a new journal that you haven't used before, you can add that in. You can remove it when you're done. So I'm going to go ahead and select just APA 7th as my style. And then the file formats, and again, this is just to generate a quick and dirty bibliography. This is not something you're going to be submitting to anyone in this format, but you can generate an HTML text or rich text file of these citations. So I'll just preview and print one here. And one thing to note that it's really just taking the information that is in the fields of your references. So if there's a misspelling and an author name, it will show up misspelled in your reference list. If the capitalization is incorrect for APA style for the journal or the article title, that will show up that way as well. It really is just pulling from those fields directly, as any of these citation tools, that's how they work. Just something to be aware of. So that is one way to create, again, just generate a bibliography. More likely what you'll be wanting to do is use the Cite While You Write tool, which is a plugin that you add to Microsoft Word. Incidentally, here is also where you can export your references. So if you are reaching that point where you're leaving UMBC, you're graduating, or you're taking a job elsewhere, you may want to just do that export of your references preemptively. I just don't know how long those accounts will be available to you once your UMBC email address is disconnected. I do think, Rachel, you can export into a BibTeX format. I'm not familiar with Overleaf or LaTeX, but I do think that BibTeX is a format you can export into. Yes, yes. If you've purchased EndNote, those you should have access to both the online version and the desktop for as, an eternity, perhaps. Yes. So the Cite While You Write plugin, you'll need to install that. It's available for Windows and Macs. Once you do that, let me just make sure I am sharing. Okay, can you see? I'm just double checking. With multiple tabs, multiple windows open. Oh, the student rate over the holidays was that's good to hear. I'm glad to hear that. I have never heard a student say that they found it affordable. The students I have talked to about it have not found great prices on it. So I'm glad you were able to do that. Are you looking at my Word window that I just opened? I just want to double check that the sharing is working properly. Or are you still just looking at, no, okay. Let me double check that. Ah, there we go. Okay, that should do it. Are you now looking at Word? Does that look right? Yes, okay, great. Okay, so once you've installed the plugin, when you open up Word, you'll see this EndNote option in your ribbon. And then when you select that option, it will prompt you to log into your EndNote account. And once you do that, you're able to connect everything up. So one thing to be aware of, the citation styles that show up here are the same that you've customized in EndNote in your EndNote Online account. Once you make those changes, they'll show up here. If you need to adjust what's here, then you want to adjust it in your EndNote account, if that makes sense. So if you are going to be using a lot of different citation styles, just be aware that your home base for that is in your EndNote account itself. So a few things. I'm just going to use a sample text, and you would set your cursor where you're going to insert your reference. Insert citation. You can search by keyword. So if it's an author name or um, a keyword or a title that you know of, I'll just do continuing my lupus searching here. It'll pull up everything in your account that has that in it. You can select the one that you want. You can review the content here, and then insert, and it gives you a couple of insert options depending on what you need to do. So what this has done is it inserts the in-text citation, the last name, comma, publication date, where I had my cursor, and then it generates the APA style citation at the bottom here. Again, if the information in my original reference is not set up perfectly for APA style, it will show up that way in here, and I can make adjustments if I need to. So just be aware that it's not a super smart system to adjust from one citation style to another. It puts things in the right places, but it doesn't know how to correct everything exactly for that citation style. So you may have to do a little bit of tweaking for that. And you can edit here within this tool in a variety of ways as you go through. And then just continuing on, finding your next one. I'll insert another one here. Just do this one. And it should keep your citations, your bibliographic entries themselves in the right order as you go through, and just kind of push them down as you go along. So I found this tool to be pretty easy to use and pretty easy to make adjustments if I need to as I go along. So that's the Cite While You Write tool. Any questions about this? So page numbers would be, so multiple authors, it depends on the style. So APA, it's pulling what is in your original reference. And for instance, this first reference has multiple authors, and it is setting it with the et al. To indicate that. Page numbers would be, I think let's see, let me just find one here. I think it depends on what the reference is, and the reference style, if that makes sense. The multiple authors should, I don't think APA different, right? If you were combining the ideas of two different references.
I can come off mute. Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So yeah, so these are the two issues I've had coming with the in page in text citations. Is one I do a lot of Black feminist theory, so it'll be like Patricia Hill Collins said this, and Combahee River Collective. They said that I will reference both of those, and I still need to put both of those citations at the end of the sentence, and I'll kind of try to do it manually, and then when I hit update, update citations and bibliography, then it all disappears. The same thing will happen when I try to manually add in a page number for a direct quote. So I just was like, if you have a direct quote and you're doing APA style, you have to have the page number. If you're quoting multiple references, you have to have both. So I just could not figure out how to make that happen automatically with the in-text citation.
Yeah, that's a really good question, and that is certainly something that you would you would think more people would be doing. I am
Yeah.
going. I will have to take a look at that. I can follow up with you um, after the workshop on that because that does seem like something that should be available. Yeah, let me get this information down.
Thank you so much, because
Sure.
that has definitely been a struggle, and having to do it manually and then redo it because
Yeah,
the update button, because
page number.
you
And
hit the
you are
update and
using,
then it you know reorders your bibliography so that's properly cite in proper order and all that stuff, and then I lose all the manual stuff because it's no longer correct. So
okay, and this has all been it with APA style specifically?
yeah, most of my papers have been in APA style. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'll look into that because that seems like something that people will be doing often and that it should be an option to be
Thank
able
you.
to change. Any other questions? Okay. I'm going to go back to Chrome here and pull up my slides, which I have closed out of, fortunately. Sorry, I closed out a window, which closed everything, unfortunately. So let me just pull up a couple more slides. One is just to point out a couple of training and FAQ pages that are available at endnote.com/training if you'd like to explore some of the training options that are available through EndNote. They also have a decent FAQ page, which includes a way to send a request for technical assistance. And on occasion, if something is a little tricky and I'm unable to help somebody on campus with it, I'll reach out to them and have had conversations to try to get it resolved for the student or faculty member or staff member. And lastly, you're welcome to just reach out to me after this if you have any questions. I sometimes just sit somewhere on campus or have just a WebEx meeting with someone to talk through a specific issue or kind of brainstorm strategies for using it um, one-on-one. And lastly, before we wrap up here, and I can answer, I'm up, you know, we can go through some questions as well, but I'll just wanted to mention that there are some additional workshops coming up. These are four that I think might be most useful as many of you are grad students, staff on campus, There's a Zotero for citation management if you're interested in just exploring a different citation management tool. There is one later this week. We've got a couple of creating academic research posters for PowerPoint and also or by using PowerPoint and also using Canva if you're interested in that. And then later in April, research and publications workshop from faculty perspectives on campus. And those are all posted in the library group on MyUMBC and also on the library website if you're interested in registering for those. But we've got a couple of minutes if anyone has questions or just want to talk through their experience with citation management, any other struggles, anything like that.
Not really. I just think libraries rock. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
And
um,
I work over in McKeldin and College Park. So,
oh,
but yeah, but yeah. Did you want? Were you just gonna do a little searching and then email me back, and then we can for my question about?
yeah,
Okay,
later
cool.
this week when I have
That'd
a,
be perfect.
yeah,
Thank you.
I will email you back with what I can find.
Cool, because yeah, that's been a source of struggle. But beyond that, I wanted to also say like as far as comparing this citation manager to the other ones, I thought it was reasonably priced because it's just a one-time flat fee as opposed to Zotero, which after you reach a certain amount of data um, consumption, it becomes like a subscription service and just kind of can go on forever. And I rather a finite number of $100 or two over uh, $5-10 in perpetuity.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
so as people come to you with issues with pricing, I would be so angry if I spent years and years gathering all this information and putting it all into something and then say having to leave it. So
Yeah,
yeah, so just
thank you. Thanks for sharing.
yeah. All right, I'm gonna roll off. I got more work to do, but
Okay.
thank you, thank you.
And I've recorded this, so I'll send out the recording and my slides to everybody who's signed up. And feel free to reach out if you have questions down the road.
Thank you so much. You have a good evening. Good
You
evening,
too.
everyone.